Hey, we're the monkeys. People say we monkey around. Welcome back to the Oddball History Podcast. This is your host, Scott Crisp. We're back with more history for that ass. Episode 98, Popes Gone Wild, a.k.a. Popes Behaving Badly. Now, that's what I call a bad pope. By any name, it's Shitty Popes Week here on Oddball History Podcast.
Got digging through the past. Crazy tales, they uncover facts. History's stranger than you think. They'll also talk about wieners in a blink. They'll talk about wieners in a blink. Oddball history.
We've got all the great bad boy popes of history. We got Pope John the 12th. We got Pope Sergius III. And we got Pope Leo the 10th. We got Medici's. We got Borgias by the barrelful. Going to be talking about Love Island. Love Island's back a little later in the episode. But first, as always, it's time for top comments of the week. Top comments of the week. It's time for top comments of the week, everybody. Hooray. On Instagram, on the clip about war pigeons, double A Kev says, my grandma's been at war with pigeons for a lifetime. They simply refuse to accept that they can't nest in her ceilings. Which I love that comment. I love the idea of a woman who's spent her life at war with pigeons. And frankly, you know, that's pigeons for you. They're an obstinate bunch, pigeons, I feel, as a group. And as we learned last episode, not afraid to go to war. They love it, live for it. But man, that's rough, the pigeons in the attic. Good luck to your grandma and her lifelong war against them. Double A Kev, and thank you for the comment. This one is actually from 2 episodes ago. It's the clip about The Conqueror, starring John Wayne. Remember, the most cursed movie production in history, perhaps. They were shooting it just downwind from a place where they were testing nuclear bombs. So not only was it a stinking piece of shit of a movie, but it killed like everyone that worked on it, which is never good, you know. But about that, my guy Muad'Dib 777 said, not gonna lie, I love that film, unhinged just like Hughes. Which, hell yeah, I have not watched The Conqueror yet, but I really want to ever since doing that episode. Yeah, thank you Muad'Dib for the comment. Maybe we should do like a watch-along thing. That could be fun. A watch-along. I don't know how to do that, but, you know, I could look into learning how to do it. That's always an option. Learning. Yeah, I don't know. I probably won't, but hey, I might. Final top comment comes from YouTube on episode 97 itself, Birdstravaganza 26. A salute to birds. Funk Still Y2T said, salute to you and birds. Hey, thank you, Funk Still Y2T. Salute back to you, my friend. And that's it for top comments of the week. Thank y'all for them. Keep them coming. We love that shit. We love hearing from you. Love hearing where you're from, what you're doing, you know. How's life treating you? Do you know any funny, weird history shit we should know about? You know, these kinds of things. On to our main story of the week. Bad popes gone wild, popes behaving badly. Now that's what I call a bad pope. The evil pope power rankings. Look, everybody, we all know about the good popes. You know, you've got Saint Peter and Saint Gregory the Great, who gave us Gregorian chants. You know, those Gregorian chants we all know and love wouldn't be a thing without Saint Gregory the Great. And who could forget Saint Leo the First, who famously convinced Attila the Hun to turn back from Italy in 452. But this week, all those do-gooders can hit the bricks. This week, it's all about the worst, most low-down, no good, no account sons of bitches to ever put on the hat of Catholicism, or whatever they call that hat. I'm not sure. But the worst of them, that's who we're talking about this week. And we have quite a group Popes aren't what you think of a pope now. He's following the rules. He's over there in Vatican City. He's praying. You might see him, and he goes like this, and maybe he roots for the Chicago White Sox. But they're chill. They're not out there like the early '90s Cowboys fucking and doing drugs and murdering. I mean, nobody on the Cowboys, I don't think, murdered anyone. But you get my point. These were wild popes. These were popes that had gone wild. It's a good title for the episode. It's very fitting. There have been 266 popes officially, but this is something of a ballpark figure, with historians putting the total as low as 265 and as high as 268, with such common gray areas as to whether to include Pope-elect Stephen II, who died before his consecration in 752. I think most have agreed nah, he doesn't get to be included. He didn't make it. He didn't show up to the test. So sorry to you, Pope-elect Stephen II. Tough titties, says the Catholic Church. And that's how they said it, too. Sergius III, our first terrible pope. Sergius III, he was the pope from 904 to 911. The first of a series of popes so shameful that they got their own name. They came up with a name for it. I believe it was in like the 16th century or something like that. They started calling it the Saeculum Obscurum, translated the Dark Age or Dark History, also known as Rule of the Harlots, the Pornocracy, or Age of the Slut Pope. I made that last one up, actually. That's not a real one, but it's not that much of an exaggeration. That really is what they were saying. Basically, it's the period in the 10th century when the papacy was under the complete control of warring factions of Roman nobility. The Age of the Slut Pope starts with Sergius III, who seized the papal throne from Antipope Christopher in 904 at the behest of Theophylact, Count of Tusculum, who effectively rules Rome from the shadows for like a solid quarter century, from around 904 to his death in 924. Theophylact's descendants controlled the papacy for the next 100 years. These are the whore popes that they're talking about in the thing. A lot of it's people hated this family that had such huge influence over Rome. He ruled with his wife Theophylact. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. I go over this every episode, but Theophylact rules with his wife Theodora, and they had two daughters, Theodora Jr. and Marozia. I think they just called her Theodora. I don't think it was Junior. I was just making a little joke there. And now, in 904, he has his puppet Pope Sergius III in place, who he has his two immediate predecessors, Pope Leo V and Antipope Christopher, strangled in prison. Nobody knows if it was actually Sergius or if it came from Theophylact, but it's pretty much agreed those two were murdered that year, though some people contend he actually let Christopher retire to a monastery and only had Leo strangled. So not so bad. If you remember from an earlier episode, Sergius III, I think it was pettiest moments in history, but I forget, and I did not look it up. But I think pettiest moments in history, we covered the Cadaver Synod, where Pope Stephen VI, he had the corpse of the predecessor of his predecessor, Pope Formosus, exhumed, dressed up in papal vestments, propped in a throne, and then made to stand trial, after which, of course, he was found guilty. They mutilated him. Stephen cut off the 3 middle fingers of his right hand, his blessing fingers, which... that's brutal. That's like in a mob movie when they break a piano player's fingers, That's their moneymaker, man. Brutal to have that taken away, even if you are a rotting corpse. But anyway, Stephen cuts off the middle fingers. They change Formosus into layman clothes from his papal vestments, which they presumably had to change him into in the first place, and throw him in the Tiber. This all backfires horribly, of course. Formosus's bloated corpse washes up on the shore of the Tiber, and then there are reports that thing is performing miracles out there. Everyone turns on Stephen for this grotesque charade, and he's strangled to death in prison 6 months later. Strangling a big part of Pope shit back then. For several centuries, it's believed that Sergius III actually had Formosus exhumed a second time, put on trial, found guilty, and beheaded, but now they believe the account just had the dates wrong, and he was talking about the original cadaver synod and Pope Stephen VI. Stephen VI would obviously be on this list, except for we covered his most egregious deed, the cadaver synod, in that other episode. Otherwise, his ass would for sure be on this list, but instead we get Sergius III, who he didn't actually dig him up and have another cadaver synod, but he did really hate Formosus like that. He was active participant in the real cadaver synod, and then even after the people rose up and killed Stephen VI for his treatment of Formosus, they've made it very clear they are no fan of Stephen VI. He honored Stephen with a laudatory epitaph on his tombstone and convoked a synod that annulled all ordinations made by Formosus, which means all bishops ordained by Formosus, they have to get reordained, and the bishops just aren't having it across the board. They all send him letters back like, hey, suck our dicks. Probably it didn't say, hey, suck our dicks, but that was like the tone of it. They were saying, hey, pal, I got something you can reordain right here. I'm grabbing my penis. A lot of them are a long way from Rome. They're like, I'm not making that trip. You can cram it, sir. All due respect, your holiness, cram it. And so that's how it went. Nobody really listened to him. They were like, that's not real. We're not doing that. Sergius III is also rumored to have had an affair with Marozia, the daughter of Theophylact. Remember him, the Count of Tusculum? And actually, they say, fathered her son, the future Pope John XI. But the only source for this is a world-class hater by the name of Luitprand of Cremona. He's a big Formosus guy. So he lights all these people up. Everyone that was involved in the cadaver synod, this guy's writing histories about all this, and he hates them so much that people now are like, yeah, I don't know how much of this we can really believe on account of how much he hated this guy. It's another case. It was in the Roman Emperor episode. You remember the thing with Cassius Dio and Commodus? It was like Commodus was a piece of shit, but Cassius Dio also hated his guts, and he's the only account of his life we have. So it gets kind of muddy. It leads to questions about impartiality and such. An ancient historian will be like, and also before Sergius died, he shit all over himself. Also, he was crying like a little bitch. His last words were, sorry, I sucked so much. And Luitprand of Cremona was right about everything. Again, sorry, I sucked so much. And then he tried to suck his own dick, and that's when he actually passed. That's when he died. And they write this down, and then like centuries later, someone's reading, and they're like, hey, wait a minute. I don't know if this is accurate. He shit all over himself, and then he was crying. Anyway, that's Luitprand of Cremona. Luitprand of Cremona's account of the whole Saeculum Obscurum is one of those. He was again just a first ballot Hall of Fame hater. He called Theodora, Theophylact's wife, and the Shadow Queen of Rome. He called her, and they say she's the one they say was personally selecting these popes during this stretch, the Saeculum Obscurum. He called her, quote, a shameless whore who exercised power on the Roman citizenry like a man. So that's the kind of salt Luitprand of Cremona's bringing to the table. It leads the Catholic Almanac to say of him, Luitprand's writings are a very important historical source for the 10th century. He is ever a strong partisan and is frequently unfair toward his adversaries. But all the same, it's not like there's a competing narrative where Sergius III is like a great dude. Nobody claims that. Pretty much everybody's in agreement he was a pretty big piece of shit. He was a murderer, a mobster type. He rolled around with a private army, had all kinds of illicit affairs. Caesar Baronius, historian of the church, writing in the 16th century, called Sergius III a wretch worthy of the rope and of fire. Flames could not have caused this execrable monster to suffer the punishments which he merited. Damn, Caesar Baronius, get his ass. Our next pope gone wild is John the 12th. He was in the throne from 955 to 964, consecrated December 16th, 955, when he was as young as 17 or 18, maybe in his early 20s, but still very young for a pope. And buddy, he acted like a young pope, young and very horny pope. He adopts the name John the 12th. He's just the third pope ever to change his name at this time. He sets a trend. He still goes by Octavianus, his birth name. He was like, hey, Pope John the 12th, but you can call me Octavianus. Damn glad to meet you. And that's just how John the 12th talked. According to historymedieval.com, John the 12th's tenure as both the secular prince of Rome and the spiritual leader of the church was marked by a leaning towards his secular duties. Wink. No, I don't know if there was a wink there. I put that in myself. His behavior, often described as coarse and immoral, suggested a lifestyle more fitting for a secular prince. The Lateran palace was reputedly akin to a brothel under his rule, and his actions were a source of widespread disgrace. 5 years into his reign, John the 12th is finding Rome difficult to control. Apparently, his father, Alberic II of Spoleto, was much better at this, at keeping Rome under his grasp. The Lombards are rebelling down south, and at first, John goes out himself to personally lead an attack on the Lombard duchies of Beneventum and Capua, to which the Papal States have recently lost a bunch of territory. But between the Lombards and the King of Italy, Berengar II, attacking papal possessions, it soon becomes clear John needs help. He desperately needs some help. This is the part in the tag team match when the guy's been in the ring too long, and he gets like a desperation blow in there, and then he slowly crawl into the corner trying to get the tag in. That's John the 12th at this point, and who he finds in his corner, King Otto the First of Germany. Otto, he comes in, again like wrestling, he comes in and cleans house. Enters Italy in 961. John makes him Holy Roman Emperor, and Otto swears allegiance to John in 962. Very emotional, probably. He's the first Holy Roman Emperor since Berengar the First. Unfortunately, the bromance does not last. Otto started hanging out with John the 12th and is just like, damn, dude, is everything okay with you? Cause damn, he was crazy. There is constant adultery. There's accusations of murder, and the most hilarious sin of all, they say he would gamble with church money. Like, he would take church money, he would go gamble with it, and then when he was gambling, and he was doing the thing gamblers do where they appeal to a higher power for help with their gambling, when he would appeal to a higher power, it was not the Christian God he would appeal to. He would appeal to Roman deities like Jupiter and Venus. I mean, he's kind of supposed to have an exclusive deal, I feel like, with the Christian God as Pope. Otto even sends the Pope a letter at one point saying, everyone accuses you, Holiness, of homicide, perjury, sacrilege, incest with your relatives, including 2 of your sisters, and with having, like a pagan, invoked Jupiter, Venus, and other demons. It's not a great look for a pope, it's not good being in a dice game and being like, oh, save me, many gods of Olympus. That would be frowned on in almost any circumstance, but in the midst of a gambling binge with church money, that seems pretty bad. That seems like that's like a sin turducken. That's like a cartoonish level of corrupt poping. Yeah, I used pope as a verb. Sure. Otto, now Holy Roman Emperor, is kicking ass all over Europe, which is great at first because, of course, remember that oath he swore to John the 12th. So he's like, that's great. And then John starts worrying Otto might be actually kicking too much ass. And he's like, this guy's getting too popular. And so he starts reaching out to enemies of Otto's, the Magyars and the Byzantine Empire, as well as Adalbert, Berengar's son, trying to make a deal. Otto hears about Adalbert's arrival in Rome. He's like, oh, you motherfucker. He's steamed. He's really not happy with it. Fuck me, no fuck you. That's what Otto says. He then convenes the Synod of Rome to depose John the 12th and elect Leo the 8th. He sends for John the 12th to present himself and defend himself against the accusations, but John says, not going to make it, actually. Busy that day, and also anyone who tries to depose me is excommunicated. Have a great one. You know how it goes. But Otto the Great, as he comes to be known, is undeterred. He convenes the Synod of Rome in November of 963. All the big names in 10th century Catholicism is there. You got Walpert, Archbishop of Milan. You got the big dog, Hubertus, Bishop of Parma. And from Germany, the tall Archbishop from the G, Adeldag, Archbishop of Hamburg-Bremen. There's also our pal Luitprand, Bishop of Cremona, who is a big ally of Otto's. Another reason why he's always lighting the string of popes up in his writings. But he actually writes the main account we have of this proceeding and a lot of John's life as a whole, which is a tough break for John the 12th, for your number one biographer to also be your number one hater. But fun for us, really good time. The notes are crazy. So per his account, the Synod of Rome, the cardinal priest Peter testified that he himself had seen John the 12th celebrate Mass without taking communion. I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, how could it get any worse than that? But it does. John, Bishop of Narni, and John, a cardinal deacon. Too many Johns. Guys, can we get some nicknames going? Can we, there's like 17 Johns in play right now. But anyway, John, Bishop of Narni, and John, a cardinal deacon, professed that they themselves saw that a deacon had been ordained in a horse stable, but were unsure of the time. That's not a thing you forget. Benedict, cardinal deacon, and other co-deacons and priests said they knew that he had been paid for ordaining bishops, specifically that he had ordained a 10-year-old bishop in the city of Todi. They testified about his adultery, which they did not see with their own eyes, but nonetheless knew with certainty. He had fornicated with the widow of Rainier, with Stephana, his father's concubine, with the widow Anna, and with his own niece, and he made the sacred palace into a whorehouse. They said that he had gone hunting publicly, that he had blinded his confessor Benedict, and thereafter Benedict had died. That he had killed John, cardinal subdeacon, after castrating him, and that he had set fires. All clerics, as well as laymen, declared that he had toasted to the devil with wine. Which, again, not the best look for a pope. You cannot toast to the devil with wine. That's day one of Pope college stuff. So they deposed John the 12th, and even before that, he had to flee Rome with his new friend Adalbert, taking the papal treasury with them to Tibur. But John actually has a fair amount of support in Rome, so there's a revolt in support of him, and it gets squashed violently and horribly by Otto's troops. So he's reaching out to Otto to patch things up, but unfortunately, before anything can come of these efforts, John is killed on May 14th, 964, when the guy whose wife he was fucking threw him out a window. To his death. There are multiple versions of this. Of course, with anything like this, there are going to be multiple versions. In one version, the guy, he had a heart attack, It wasn't, he didn't get thrown out a window. He died when the guy came in. He had a heart attack. And then in another version, it's basically the same thing, but gay. It was like a guy instead of a lady. And I guess his guy showed up. I don't know, but he's dead is the point. He did do some Pope stuff. I like all the defenses of bad popes. I got really into that and researching this. They're like really flimsy, but they're like, hey, what about this? And it's like one thing. All the things like cite the same thing. For him, it was one time he wrote to William of Mainz in Germany, and basically just told him, hey, great job with the church over there. Keep it up, William of Mainz. I see great things coming from you. And then he went back to, his gambling in the alley and praying to Roman gods. Our next bad pope, Benedict IX. The Pope so nice he became Pope thrice. Really, it was the opposite of that. He wasn't nice at all, but he did become Pope thrice. That part of the rhyme was true. He kept leaving and coming back, kind of like Jordan retiring a little bit, but with more bloodshed, presumably. He was a real piece of shit, is my point. We wouldn't be talking about him if he wasn't. But he does hold 2 Pope records. He's the only Pope to ever be Pope more than once, and he's the only person to ever be accused of trying to sell the papacy. How about that? Making history, Benedict the ninth. He was placed on the throne when he was around 20, and the problem started pretty much immediately. The 19th century German historian Ferdinand Gregorovius wrote, "It seemed as if a demon from hell in the disguise of a priest occupied the chair of Peter and profaned the sacred mysteries of religion by his insolent courses." Ouch. For Benedict IX. He was briefly forced from Rome in 1036. The people, they fucking hate him. But he returns with the backing of Holy Roman Emperor Conrad II and remains for another 8 scandal-filled years. Bishop Benno of Piacenza accused Benedict of, quote, many vile adulteries and murders. And the future Saint Peter Damian accused Benedict of, quote, routine sodomy and bestiality and sponsoring orgies. In 1044, the people finally force him out of Rome for good for 7 months. April 1045, Benedict returns with an army and retakes the throne. But then he retakes it, goes to all that trouble. He's back on the throne, Pope again, and then he thinks to himself, oh, who am I kidding? These people are never going to accept me as their Pope, what with all the orgies and the bestiality, which I'm definitely not going to ever stop doing. So why don't I just sell the old girl? The old girl in this case being the papacy. And the main reason, though, that he wants to sell the papacy, get out of the Pope business for good, is he's fallen in love. It is with his cousin, but I got kind of sweet, beautiful in its way. Benedict sells the papacy to his godfather, John Gratian, who becomes Pope Gregory VI in May of 1045. Like a month after his return. He's out of the Pope business again. But Benedict quickly has seller's remorse. He returns to Rome. He takes the city. He gets the throne back, but no one recognizes him as Pope this time. They've moved on. They still are going to Gregory VI for all their papal needs. At the same time, Pope Sylvester III, the guy who was supposed to succeed Benedict the first time he left, was like, hey guys, Sylvester III over here, I believe I have a claim to the papacy as well. And everyone's like, shut the fuck up, Sylvester III. Eventually they call in Holy Roman Emperor Henry III across from the Alps to sort this whole mess out. Because you know the old saying, if you have 3 popes, you don't have 1 pope. Henry comes in. He says, yeah, both Sylvester and Benedict definitely deposed. He sends poor Sylvester to a monastery for the rest of his life and encourages Gregory VI to resign since, he had bought the position. It was simoniacal, to use a fancy Catholic church word for involving money. But of course that's frowned upon. So he does. Benedict does not attend this Council of Sutri where they made this decision or accept his deposition. The Council of Sutri had elected Clement II, a German, after Gregory stepped down. But he dies in 1047. When that happens, Benedict is back in business. Benedict seizes the Lateran Palace, once again becoming pope, but he's driven from the city by German soldiers the following July in 1048, and they install the Bavarian-born Damasus II. The following year, Benedict refuses to appear on charges of simony and was excommunicated, after which nobody really knows what happened to him, but apparently he gave up on trying to be pope anymore. I personally like to think he ran a small Cheers-like bar, maybe a bar, it's called something friendly and warm, like Pope Benedict IX's. People come in and they're like, hey, Pope Benedict IX. He still goes by Pope Benedict IX. They're like, hey, Pope Benedict IX, don't I know you from somewhere? And he kind of winks at the camera. There's a camera. It's a sitcom. He winks at the camera and is like, nah, must have just got one of them faces. It's all really funny, but at the end of the day, the people that go to Benedict IX is like, they're like a family. It's more than a bar. And that's what makes it so special, Benedict IX. Anyway, according to the abbot St. Bartholomew of Grottaferrata, he was penitent and turned away from all the bad stuff he was always doing when he was in the public eye late in life, which is good. He said he was sorry for all that stuff, so just ease up on the Benedict IX bashing for a second, why don't you? But an altogether terrible pope, a really bad pope, less historical hedging on his behalf than the others we've seen so far. Like where John the 12th and Sergius III, they both had the Luitprand of Cremona defense. Or like, this guy hated my guts. So, who's to say what was real and what was sour grapes? There's nothing like that substantial working in Benedict IX's favor. Benedict IX, it's pretty much unanimous. He was a piece of shit. Which brings us to Sixtus IV, the next in our cavalcade of dog shit popes. Sixtus IV, he was in the chair from 1471 to 1484. Elected in 1471, he declares a renewed crusade against the Ottoman Turks in Smyrna. They conquer Smyrna, but then there doesn't seem to be a plan beyond that. So the fleet disbands. He flirts with the idea of unifying with the Greek Orthodox Church, but Sixtus loses interest in that too pretty soon. His main focus is and will always be enriching himself and his family through hardcore nepotism. He's the nepotism king. He brings nepotism in the papacy to another level, and a lot of these guys are world-class nepotism cases. They fill every time one of them gets in. Their whole family's in. One of Sixtus's nephews, Pietro Riario, he makes him in quick succession a cardinal, then bishop of Florence, then patriarch of Constantinople, as well as 45 other benefices, a fancy Catholic word for like jobs or titles, I guess. New to me. He becomes one of the richest men in Rome with all these gigs, regular spending 200,000 gold ducats on food and parties, to the point that in 1474 he died of too much nepotism. That's right. R.I.P. Pietro Riario, gone too soon. It was also rumored that wasn't Sixtus's nephew at all, but it was that they were boning. But again, they don't know if that's true. They also there's people that believe that was his illegitimate son, because nephew was often a euphemism for illegitimate son. among popes back then. Sixtus is another one of these gangster popes. He was the leading instigator, or a leading instigator, in the Pazzi conspiracy that aimed to remove the Medicis from power via a coordinated attack on Easter Sunday of 1478. He also sold indulgences. Indulgences are hilarious if you're not familiar. Basically, rich guys could buy their way out of the time they would have to do in purgatory for sins. You could buy your way out of that with indulgences. So he sells indulgences. He also levied a church tax on prostitutes, as well as a mistress tax for priests. He was like, you can have mistresses if you please, but not without us getting a little something out of it. It would be fucked up if the church didn't somehow get something out of you having a mistress. Sixtus also allegedly fathered 6 illegitimate children, including one with his sister. He signed a papal bull establishing the Spanish Inquisition. Not great. It's not all bad with Sixtus. On the bright side, he was a major patron of the arts and sciences. Among other things, he commissioned the Sistine Chapel, which is named for him. So how about that? Pretty good. Next bad pope, Innocent VIII. He was pope from 1484 to 1492. Innocent VIII is also very concerned about witches, like his predecessor. In 1484, he issued the papal bull, the Summus Desiderantis Effectibus, in which he's like, by the way, I know we all know this already, but witches are real. They're for real, and we gotta all find them and torture them and then burn them at the stake for Jesus. He appoints the brutal Tomás de Torquemada as Inquisitor General of Spain, officially escalating the persecution of Muslims and Jews. And like all of our guys, he was big into nepotism. Innocent had, quote, at least 7 illegitimate children from his pre-pope days that he more or less openly acknowledged. 2 of them were even officially recognized and legitimized, and they said of these 2, his nepotism had been as lavish as it was shameless. A popular couplet at the time went, "The wicked man fathered 8 boys and as many girls. Thus Rome will justly be able to call him father." In 1487, he married off his eldest son, Francesco Cibo, to Maddalena, the daughter of Lorenzo de' Medici, a union that would produce another of the worst popes of all time, Leo X. We'll be getting into him shortly. By the summer of 1492, Innocent VIII was looking a little late-era Howard Hughes-ish. He's emaciated. He's dying. Filippo Valori of the famous Florentine Valores described him as, quote, an inert mass of flesh, incapable of assimilating any nourishment but a few drops of milk from a young woman's breast. Which, yikes. No word on how they found this young woman, but gee, you got a feel for her. Whoever she was, just the weirdest day. That was just the weirdest day. 1 minute, you're minding your own business. The next, you're breastfeeding a dying and emaciated pope. But the breast milk does not work, unfortunately. Just ruined that lady's day. So the possibly apocryphal story goes that they tried the first ever blood transfusion. They got 3 boys. The Catholics, it's always got to be boys, of course. It's their answer to everything. They get 3 boys, and they try to do the first ever blood transfusion, but it does not work, and all 4 of them die. But he makes the list for the persecutions, the witch hunting, kind of the original Joseph McCarthy to that end, and for just being a terrible ruler. Apparently Rome was just an awful place under his watch. Murders were so commonplace that, quote, no morning dawned without revealing corpses in the street. And he had slaves too. He had slaves. He had 100 slaves that King Ferdinand of Aragon gave him, Moorish slaves, and he would share the slaves with his favorite cardinals. So that's Innocent VIII. Not so innocent after all. Is he? I'm sorry. Leo X, here he is, 1513 to 1521, the former Giovanni de' Medici. Not as much of a depraved sex maniac as our other guys, but he gets in for his wild spending. He effectively bankrupted the church within 2 years of being elected by bankrolling dynastic wars, lavish ceremonies, and art and building projects, including accelerating the big renovation of St. Peter's Basilica. Just to give you an idea of how powerful the Medici family was at the time, Leo was made an abbot at 7 years old. He was a cardinal by 13, and by the time he was 16, he had already held 42 offices. When he's elected in 1513, he throws himself one of the most lavish parades in the history of ever, per thecollector.com, quote, complete with newly built triumphal arches, golden chariots, fountains that spouted wine in place of water, and Leo himself atop a white horse under a canopy of imported silk. That one ceremony, his big welcoming parade, was he spent 1/7 of the entire papal treasury right there, the papal reserves. He also starts installing family members in positions of power right away. He put one cousin, the future Pope Clement VII, in as the Archbishop of Florence, and a nephew as the Duke of Urbino, which took some doing. And by doing, I mean they had to fight a whole ass war to install that nephew, Lorenzo de Piero de Medici. But the main thing, as always with Leo, is just the spending. He was just burning through money. And then the measures he takes to try to get out of the hole lead directly to the Protestant Reformation. Granted, some of the things Leo spent money on were great. His patronage of great artists, Raphael, Leonardo, I believe, were two of them. Probably some of the other turtles even. No, Michelangelo. But mostly it was insane bullshit. It was like wars to install cousins and insane bullshit. Like one time he spent a shitload of money on a bit where he had a Vatican jester named Barabello. He was put on Leo X's beloved pet white elephant Hanno, who had been a gift from King Manuel I of Portugal. He put him on the elephant and marched him through Rome as if it was a Roman triumph. A funny bit. I don't know. It's not the best joke I've ever heard, but the Leo X seemed to love it. Anyway, as the crowd gets bigger and bigger, eventually Hanno gets spooked. He threw Barabello off his back, creating a lasting memory for attendees. The poet soon died after that, but it is unclear if the incident played a role in his death, which honestly I'm inclined to believe it did. I'm going to say I don't think that was a coincidence that the man was thrown from an angry elephant's back and died soon after. I'm going to go ahead and assume those things are probably connected. I mean, I'm no Detective Andy Sipowicz here, but I got to think they are. For one reason, just because it seemed like most of what Hanno did in the 2 years he lived in Rome was accidentally kill people through no fault of his own, just from being an elephant in Rome. Hanno, he was also used to greet Giuliano de Medici and Filberta of Savoy upon their return to Rome after they get married. They're doing a big formal greeting with lots of guns. Hanno has a tower on his back with armed men on it. But when they start shooting the guns off, Hanno gets spooked again. He dumps the tower off his back into the Tiber and runs amok. This time the death toll is 13. And he died after 2 years. He fell ill. R.I.P. Hanno. They gave him a laxative fortified with gold, and it did not help. R.I.P. again to you, Hanno. Anyway, what with all the wild spending, the parties, the elephant-related hijinks, Leo needs money. He sells a bunch of shit from the Vatican, including furniture, jewels, and dishes. A regular Vatican garage sale. But more troubling for the German priest, Martin Luther, over there in Germany, he expands the sale of indulgences. You want to do less time in purgatory? Help me rebuild St. Peter's Basilica. We need all the funds we can get, and the Lord loves a big giver. It's in the book, I swear. It's in the book. So this leads directly to Martin Luther's 95 Theses, also known as the, quote, disputation on the power and efficacy of indulgences. Leo responds in 1518 with a papal bull, quote, requiring all Christians to believe in the Pope's power to grant indulgences. Solid move. It doesn't really work. It doesn't help. And nobody knows if Leo the 10th didn't understand the gravity of the situation or just didn't care. But he pretty much just dismissed Martin Luther. He excommunicated him in 1521, but that just further splinters the church, and Leo the 10th dies 10 months later of a broken heart, they think. Not really, it was a bronchopneumonia, they say. Our next bad pope, Alexander VI, a.k.a. Rodrigo Borgia. Our man got absolutely loaded from being a cardinal for many years. He was the vice-chancellor of the Holy Roman Church for 35 years, acting as kind of a kingmaker before being elected himself. It's said he bought the throne by bribing the electors, including sending 4 mule loads of silver to Sforza. This is disputed, of course. One of the things they point out is they're like, hey, a bribe would have cost more than 4 mule loads of silver. Like if they, like a real bribe, like if they had given like the cush jobs and shit, that would have equaled more than 4 mule loads of silver. But hey, it couldn't have hurt if he really was sending those mule loads of silver. He was a big-time fuckboy, obviously, even more open about fathering children with mistresses than was Innocent VIII. He had at least 9 illegitimate children, according to BusinessInsider.com, and he was really fond of orgies. He couldn't get enough. In his pre-Pope days, when he was still just a cardinal, Pope Pius II had sent him a letter scolding him for hosting, quote, several ladies of Siena late at night. Quote, we have heard that the most licentious dances were indulged in. Shame forbids mention of all that took place. All Siena is talking about this orgy. All right, so watch it, Alexander VI. Alexander does not care. He loves orgies. He was never going to give up the orgies, not for a second. In 1501, Alexander VI hosted an orgy called Joust of the Whores. He's throwing so many orgies, they have themes. Another time, he and his daughter Lucretia acted as judges as 50 prostitutes and as many palace servants, did a kind of sex talent show for them. And another time, Alexander had a bunch of stallions and mares brought into a Vatican courtyard so he could watch them have sex. Pope stuff. But Alexander VI dies after a sudden and severe illness in 1503. A lot of folks, nature of the court, think that he was poisoned, but others point out there was a massive malaria outbreak going on in Rome at the time. So, honestly, I think it might have just been the malaria. Urban VI gets on our list. He gets blamed for the Western Schism happening on his watch when he comes in 1378. When he comes in hot. He's fired up. And in his defense, he seems to just be genuinely offended by how corrupt the church has gotten. He's like, look, you guys, you bishops, y'all got to stop creating offices and then selling them to the highest bidder. Y'all got to knock that off. And everyone's like, this guy's crazy. We gotta get out of here. And so they moved the whole operation to Avignon. They moved to Avignon. They elect Antipope Clement VII. So Urban, he's kind of sympathetic up to this point, but then, at least in my light reading of it, I don't fucking know. But anyway, at least in my reading, he's kind of sympathetic to this point. He just wanted to clean up the church. He's like a Serpico type. Urban VI is kind of Serpico in that way. But anyway, this is where the him being sympathetic kind of ends. In 1385, with his grip on power slipping, the paranoia growing, our guy Urban VI has 6 cardinals arrested, tortured, and killed between that and the schism. I mean, his place on the list is pretty much guaranteed. In 1388, Urban VI is on a military march from Perugia to Rome, and he falls off his mule and never recovers. As you do. Sometimes you fall off the mule and you don't get back on. But anyway, that's it for Pope's Gone Wild, episode 98. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. What else this week? Love Island is back. Everybody's talking about Love Island. We've been watching, everybody is. There's really the TV landscape is really wide open in the summertime. But we've been watching. One of the ladies on there said that going on Love Island was like an answer to her prayers, which I think is really funny. It's funny to imagine an all-powerful God, because that's never what God never asks you to do fun things. Whenever God wants you to do something, at least in the Bible, it's never fun. God wants you to do stuff like build an ark or almost kill your son to prove your loyalty to him. He's never like, you know what I'd really like as the creator of all that is and all that ever will be? I would like for you to put on your skimpiest thong and have the sexiest goddamn summer of your life. All right? How about that? I want you to go out there. I want you to make a milkshake in a strange man's mouth using ingredients that you carried over in your own mouth. You know what I want in my infinite wisdom as the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end? I would like you to get out there and win that who can give the guy a boner fastest contest. Do it for me, for my glory. Go forth, my child, and get dressed up like a hot dog and let a guy squirt ketchup and mustard all over your face and ass. Go forth. But anyway, that'll about do it for episode 98, Pope's Gone Wild. Thanks for joining us. Drop a comment, give us a like, subscribe on YouTube, follow our asses on Instagram. We love you all. Thanks for joining me. But anyway, that'll do it for episode 98, Pope's Gone Wild. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Until next time, au revoir. Y'all have a good one.
Got digging through the past, crazy tales they uncover fast. History stranger than you think. They'll also talk about wieners in a blink. They'll talk about wieners in a blink. Oddball history.